If a builder fails to account for simple water protection, the rest of the structure is highly vulnerable to systemic decay. When evaluating structural integrity, look beyond simple finishes and focus on how builders manage environmental factors like moisture.
In my mind, is how do they deal with water? Water is 80% of the construction defect litigation. So before you even come to an interview with a builder, we need to be looking for builders that get water management. And one really easy litmus test for me is if that builder is used to and is normally building with cardboard sheathing, I would scratch them from the list, frankly. And that goes for custom builders like me and my friends, or I would tell you that's also true of production builders that you're evaluating.
Protecting a building from. During aggressive credit cycles, financial institutions often lower their lending standards to drive up volume.
Either lower our rates to get more business in the door. We can either lower our rates or we can lessen our underwriting criteria.
The full story.
We did a little bit of both. Yeah. We got a flood of really good business in 2003. And then everybody after 2003 was like, what are we going to do now?
The whole enchilada.
You got to lessen your underwriting criteria.
It's money, news, and information you can use.
And this is good because it's a trip down memory lane because, Lance,
lowering underwriting standards make rigorous short-term boom, but it almost always leads to systemic defaults. To build a robust enterprise, founders must focus on creating a brand that consumers genuinely want to associate with.
To a brand people genuinely wanted to be a part of.
A brand backed by a strong community has a far higher chance of surviving market volatility. Underestimating the design flaws of an older structure can quickly turn a routine renovation into an operational nightmare.
Pool, a garage apartment. It was a great house. The only problem was upstairs. Some of the rooms were too small and just the functionality did not work for some families. I could understand why they'd want to renovate it.
When did you first meet Shanti and David?
Dave just called me on the phone and asked if I'd come by and take a look at the project.
A structure's layout must be. Diminishing natural resources are forcing major resource-reliant economies to invest in massive architectural landmarks.
The development of the UAE was reliant on its oil wealth. But as this diminishes, they need to future-proof themselves. And so what they're doing is making the area a destination to visit for entirely different reasons. Who wouldn't want to say that they visited the tallest building in the world?
Dubai's central location makes it an ideal spot to attract tourists from both Europe and Asia.
Constructing mega project. In isolated, resource-rich frontiers, illicit networks frequently take control of local asset extraction and supply chains.
500 miles from the mouth of the Amazon lies Itaituba, where a gold rush feeling hangs in the air.
So as soon as you get here, you get a sense that this whole town is geared towards exploiting the Amazon. You can see it everywhere. There's gold shops, there's places selling chainsaws, and even the local mayor is a former gold miner.
When local governance is tied directly to resource exploitation, regulating illegal trade becomes virtually impossible. The growth of corporate legal networks often mirrors the rapid liberalization of a country's foreign investment policies.
In court the whole day because that was the only option. And to doing corporate law where all my old friends from law firms, clients wanted to come and invest in India. And that is how I think all law firms grew, with the liberalization of foreign direct investment.
Law firms scale dramatically when they align their core expertise with international capital inflows. Major public bets on next-generation computing aim to demonstrate immediate commercial value across multiple industries.
We are absolutely engaged across end markets, as I said, and we have customers today that are using our commercially available hardware and software, our full stack, to get started with their quantum journey on transforming, whether it's their product set is pharma, their product set is financial instruments, their product set is new chemicals, on transforming the way they've done business with AI and now quantum into this new era.
Unlocking advanced computing power is transforming traditional sectors like finance and pharmaceuticals right now. Highly sensitive national security operations rely on detailed intelligence assessments to recover dangerous materials,
No, it can definitely be part of it. And some of that would be the Intel assessment of what condition it's in. If the Intel people say this is not a danger, it's not something they can reconstitute, then no, you shouldn't put anyone in danger or do the heavy lift to get it out. But there's reporting just now that Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are down in Tennessee at the Oak Ridge National Lab, which is the national lab that took, among other things, the nuclear materials out of Libya and Kazakhstan when they gave up their...
Executing strategic security. Operations requires deep coordination and calculated risk management. Inheriting a mature client book requires new partners to focus heavily on establishing strong personal relationships.
An impression on the market here. He built it up from the ground, and it's a great existing book of business. And now I got to come in and find my own way of putting my spin on it, relating to these people on a personal level, on a professional level. Bill definitely left some big shoes to fill. I feel like I'm gaining traction. But yeah, he made a big impact. They still ask about him today. But yeah, it's been going very good.
Maintaining client trust during a leadership transition is essential for securing long-term business continuity. Software engineers frequently simplify complex timing data by modeling problems as geometric circular paths.
Strings all through.
Okay. So when I look at this problem, I kind of remember like a disc, kind of like a clock, but instead of like 12, it's like 24. So it's like a circle. And we're trying to find, when you say the minimum time difference, it means we want to find like the 2 points on that circle that are closest to each other. And so when I'm thinking of it that way, the question becomes, how can I lay out the points in that format to really...
Structuring abstract data geometrically allows algorithms to solve complex timing loops far more efficiently. Unspoken corporate alignments can often be identified early by looking at key personnel and drafting strategies.
It was going to happen. Everybody had their eyes on it since the draft, really. It sounded like you even knew, because you said if the Eagles take a wide receiver in the draft, that means...
It tells you a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not know for certain, but I think I knew just as well as anybody else that has any type of intuition, has been following football at all, or the Philadelphia Eagles. You can always tell.
Strategic adjustments are highly visible to observers who track historical timing patterns. Scaling an asset development firm requires a balanced combination of public medial average and operational excellence.
Very successful businessman, property developer first and foremost, and a former TV presenter. So I'm like feeling under pressure here because he's sitting watching me as I introduce him. And one of his programs on Channel 5 was how to be a property developer. And people still, and it was quite a while ago actually, people still stop him and talk about the impact of his work there and what he has done. So I suppose he's best known as the founder and CEO of the Richland Group. And we're going to find out all about that today.
The most successful founders leave a visible, lasting impact on their local commercial landscapes. Developing engaging creative content requires teams to brainstorm unconventional concepts that capture the public's imagination.
Morning with people like Richard Porter and so on going, right, we'll take over a petrol station and we'll make it the Top Gear petrol station. So it was going to be like anybody who bought diesel, there'd be just a huge tannoy going with like Jeremy at the till going, Tightwad, like across the forecourt and so on. And then anybody, people get in their car after they've paid and then don't move off.
Translating real-world, reliable scenarios into creative ideas is an incredibly powerful audience hook. Chasing a public profile can lead to brand identity struggles where a personal name is obscured for professional leverage.
And then people too, because I think people like, I was telling you before we start that, no, I don't remember to say Jaigo because I accustomed to TC knowing the name TC from so.
A lot of people don't understand TC's real name.
A brand's long-term value is deeply connected to maintaining its authentic core identity. For potential buyers, analyzing an acquisition target often reveals persistent structural bottlenecks that stall negotiations.
It's because I have been on the buyer side all of last year. I was trying to acquire a business. I'm part of a buying community. And I can't bump him into the same issues that we're going to talk about today. I'm pretty sure.
Yes, I am pretty sure we will talk about that today. So thank you so much.
Rigorous due diligence protect buyers from inheriting severe operational and structural liabilities. Structuring municipal debt programs requires deep legal expertise to secure funding for critical public works.
After being in corporate finance for an extended amount of time, initially I wanted to go into municipal finance.
Okay.
And that's where attorneys help municipalities come to market with debt issuances for roads, bridges, stuff like that that
Right.
municipalities typically bring to their constituents or to their residents.
Facilitating capital. Allocation for municipalities is essential for building and maintaining public infrastructure. Structuring a default-free commercial portfolio depends heavily on highly focused risk management.
10 years. So there's 5 lenders on my team. All we do is self-storage. If you have other types of loans, you can reach out to me, but my team just does storage. We have a $1.7 billion storage portfolio. To date, no defaults. And I like to tell people that, not to brag, but to say we're doing good loans for good people, for good projects, okay?
Fostering client relationships based on strict criteria ensures steady, reliable passive income streams. Finding personal clarity during life transitions often requires individuals to step away from busy environments.
Yeah. Like they do their own thing now.
And you're
I'm loving
glowing.
life. I'm like, woo! Like they literally make their own drinks and everything. It's wicked.
Perfect.
I walk down in the morning, they've already made cereal. I'm like, yes,
Yes,
I've
chance
made it
of money.
live. Okay, so it's just empty pages. All
Okay.
I'm going to do is basically scribble away. And it allows the connection to be stronger. So you might feel sensations. You might get kind of a change in temperature. You might
Okay.
feel like kind of a bit dizzy, which is perfectly normal, okay?
Setting aside quiet moments of reflection is highly effective for processing complex emotional shifts. The most robust operating systems focus heavily on refining trust, safety, and daily responsive features.
Let's talk about our next set of releases, where we have some exciting updates to share. This year, we put our focus into 3 areas. First, improvements that make our platforms more responsive and easier to use in your day-to-day life. Second, updates in trust and safety, where we're building on our commitment to provide a safe and trusted platform for kids.
Prioritizing security and user-centered design is critical for scaling long-term digital platforms. Advisors who specialize in a specific market segment are far more successful at scaling their practices.
It just so happened that most of the people that I was working with were small business owners. So it sort of morphed into small business coaching. And then, of course, I was with a business coach that coaches business coaches for about 7 or 8 years. When I first started with him, it was apparent that I needed to niche. And so I looked at
focusing your operational expertise on a niche. Clientele builds immense authoritative value. The most durable trading strategies are built on timeless, natural laws that show up repeatedly across markets.
Strategy and system, you want it to be based off timeless principles. And in the universe, one phenomenon that comes up time and time again is the concept of cycles, cyclicality. You see it. Maybe I can draw it here. We'll just say cycles. Oh, sorry. You think about from life, the cell cycle. I was a bio major, like I shared it. You still got it. Yeah. I was a bio major. You have the cell cycle, cell division, it goes through, and then eventually.
Aligning your system with fundamental cyclical patterns is far more reliable than predicting future trends. A trader's true job is to ensure every financial decision holds a clear, positive expected value.
Relevant and some aren't. But if you loop all this back into, okay, what's our job as a trader? It doesn't matter what you trade. What's your job as a trader? Your job is to put yourself, at least we believe, put yourself in the opportunity to have a positive expected value for every decision that you make. For every dollar you invest, you want to have a positive expected value. Now, that doesn't happen all the time, but that's your job.
Focusing on structured decisions with favorable math is the only way to build consistent, long-term profitability. Growing up in a challenging environment can teach you a great deal about resilience and the ability to bounce back.
Taught me about resilience, and something that a lot of children don't really experience these days is that ability to bounce back from challenges. So I grew up in Harlesden. About 9-10 years old, I moved over closer to Wembley, and I lived there for several years. But in terms of like money, we didn't learn much about money. The things that we learned about money were like save money.
Establishing basic principles. Expressing your grief and letting those closest to you. Listen is a crucial step in adapting to a sudden loss.
That and the highs and lows of grief that are incredibly normal, and the pain that you feel works towards accepting that they're not going to be with you anymore in your life.
Of course, but also, Victoria, you have had 3 children as well that you had to try and pick up and carry along too. So not only were you trying to figure everything out in your own mind, but you had 3 children that needed you probably more than ever.
Accepting a sudden tragedy is a long-term process that relies on strong social support and honest communication. Rapid advancements in emerging technologies are driving massive physical infrastructure investments globally.
That AI is going to create some sort of imminent job apocalypse, but we're seeing the exact opposite right now. We just had this gangbuster jobs report in May, something like 172,000 new jobs, twice what all the economists were expecting. And a lot of that is because of AI. We have over $800 billion being invested right now into infrastructure. That's creating hundreds of thousands of new construction jobs.
Rather than causing a job apocalypse, technological shifts redeploy capital directly into construction and manufacturing, launching a personalized brand in an unproven e-commerce. Market requires immense operational grit and calculated pivots.
Who saw the opportunity to build personalized fashion in India. Back in 2012, when India's e-commerce ecosystem was still nascent, he put custom-made shirts on the internet. It was a contrarian bet at the time, when even buying clothes online felt uncertain. Investors questioned it, many dismissed it, and what followed was a series of hard decisions and pivots that led to building a brand that today does over 150 crores in.
Surviving early skepticism allows pioneering brands to build high barrier to entry customized models. National security investigations rely heavily on unearthing precise pre-operational surveillance records.
Bayoumi recorded entrances and exits of the Capitol, security posts, a model of the building, and nearby landmarks. Bayoumi points out the Washington Monument and says, "I will get over there and report to you in detail what is there." He also notes the airport is not far away.
What I see Bayoumi doing is going out and making a detailed video record of the Capitol from all.
Thorough interdensity data. Historically, the most notable architectural achievements were built on a supercolossal scale to dazzle the world.
The Lighthouse of Alexandria, known as the Pharos. It is built on a grand scale like the other wonders. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon and the Colossus of Rhodes. Of the 7 wonders, only the pyramids now survive.
Digitally. Reconstructing lost ancient wonders with precise data reveals the timeless brilliance of historic engineering. Success in high-stakes trading depends on executing structured decisions where the mathematical probabilities are firmly in your favor.